Alright guys, today we got the 2020 F-150 King Ranch. Gonna throw some rotor slotted rotors on here all the way around. Truck needs brakes and I drive like a maniac anyway, so gonna get started. Gonna jack it up on the frame rail, get a jack stand on there, and get started. Alright, got the truck on the jack stand on the frame rail over there. I leave the jack under there just for extra safety, not that it really matters or it needs to be there, it's just my preference. Get ready to remove the tire. It's a 21mm. Alright, so we got the wheel off over here. This doesn't really need brakes, as you can see, but again, just upgrading the drilled and slotted. We're going to see if we can press in this caliper while it's still on with a pry bar or a flathead. If not, I'll have to use the press in caliper tool, but that's no big deal. Also try to make sure that turn the caliper facing towards you. So I got the wheel turned all the way to the left, just have the caliper facing out so it's a little bit easier to work on, and see if we can try to cheat and get this pressed in the easy way. Alright guys, so as you can see, I got my little pry bar in over here, right on the rotor. I'm just pressing it back until it goes all the way in. If you don't have it all the way in, then you're not going to be able to get the new pads on. This is a little trick. Now you might get to the point where the pry bar doesn't work anymore. I get a little screwdriver, stick it in between the pad and the rotor, just like that, and then I'll squeeze it in. This one's dual caliper, so you kind of want to do it 2 screwdrivers, and then press that in. Alright, as you can see, we got both the pistons pressed all the way in, and next step we'll take off this caliper over here. Alright guys, and this caliper bolt over here, that's going to be a 13mm. So we'll get that on there. And then we're going to break it free. You want to lift up towards you. Always remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Now in this case, you only have to remove the bottom one. You can remove the top one if you want. What I like to do is I like to pull it all the way up and then slide it out. Just like that. Now keep in mind, you don't want the caliper to hang there. You don't want to put no tension on that brake caliper hose. Now the right way is you probably want to bungee cord it to maybe the top of the control arm or something. I just kind of leave it laying right here. I don't think it's going to move or go anywhere. Next step, we'll just take our brake pads out. Easiest way, just get a screwdriver, kind of work it just like that. Alright guys, now it's time to take out the caliper bracket. Now if you're just an at-home mechanic, you don't do this every day. I don't do this every day anymore. I got out of this industry. It was just not enough money, hard work, long hours. Now I just play around with stuff on the side. Let's say you only have a 3/8 ratchet. This is a 21mm. This bolt back here, there ain't gonna be no way that you're gonna break that free with this little ratchet. So if you don't want to go buy a 1/2 inch long ratchet, you can get a pipe. You can cut it, get some leverage, put the pipe over the ratchet. This is another reason why I turn the wheel all the way to the left, so then this way you ain't hitting the truck. And then just lift up on it and it breaks free. Very easy. You don't got to fight, get aggravated, throw tools across the shop. That's all. And just repeat it for the top bolt. Now just a disclaimer, if you do take the bottom bolt out and you go to do the top one, broke it free with your little pipe, or maybe if you have better tools, and you're like, oh man, this is starting to come up while you're breaking it free, no worries. We can just get a couple threads back in down here and continue to break the top one free. Probably better off doing the top one first, but it doesn't really matter. No one really remembers. Alright guys, we got the caliper bracket off. I usually like to put the bolts back in the same plates that they came out of. For me to remember that, I just put the bottom one at the bottom on the floor, and I put the top one somewhere else over there. Let's see, will this rotor come off easy? Maybe, maybe not. It's only got 40,000 miles. But we'll see. Nope. Gonna need a big hammer for this one. Alright, I got my big hammer. Now, let's say you were taking this rotor off and you wanted to save it. I would hit it right in between the studs so I wouldn't damage the rotor. But now that I don't care about this one, I'll just hit it with a bash from the back. Now this one wants to fight me a little bit, which is fine. I'll just keep on turning it, and I'll hit it again in the back, keep turning it. Well, this one fought me more than I thought it would, but like I said, just keep turning it. As you can see, it started to break free here. I'll turn it again to the part that's not broken free. Give it a whack. There you go. And so here's what I do. And every time I replace a rotor, I always go around the hub, try to make it as clean as I can. Got myself a little wire brush over here. Now the only reason I do that is I learned the hard way one time. I replaced rotors, I didn't clean it. Truck kept having a vibration in the front. Couldn't figure out why. Brand new rotors. Turned out that a piece of metal or something got stuck behind the rotor from rust or whatnot, and that was the cause. So now I make sure I do this every single time. So I'll even spray some brake clean on there. Not that you have to, it's just what I do. And I just keep on scrubbing it. You don't got to get it perfect, but just as best as you can. Alright, so we're ready to put the new rotor on. In this particular case, we got our drilled and slotted over here. You always want to check the little sticker and make sure you put it on the right side. We're working on the front passenger side. So here we go, front passenger side. You do not want to mix these up, trust me. You always want to make sure that you clean both sides of the surface of the rotor with some brake clean. Both sides. Might as well do all your rotors down while you got them out the box so you don't forget. Get whatever protective material they put on the rotor out. I'll spray it, I'll wipe it down with a shop rag. I'll do that a few times to get it as clean as we can. Alright guys, all I did was I just slid the rotor right on. Now you'll see it doesn't sit flush. You know, who cares? It doesn't really matter once you got the calipers and everything on, but when you're trying to put the bracket on, it's going to be a pain. So what I do is I get a lug nut, I put it on there, try to get it flush now so I'm not fighting anything, getting aggravated. There you go. Perfect, flush, ain't gonna give you no problems. But remember to take the lug nut off when you're all done. So in this particular kit, we got new slider pin brackets, whatever you want to call them over here. We're going to put them on the caliper bracket. So what I usually do is I just pop off one at a time and make sure the one that I'm putting on there is the one that I popped off. Make sure you do it one at a time. If you do have brake pads that come with these, some don't, it's not a big deal. If you don't have the kit that comes with these, I'll just get some brake clean, clean these old ones off, and you're good to go. Alright, so we got one new one on there, and I'm just going to show you guys. It's real easy to pop these old ones out. Literally just put a screwdriver behind this little guy over here, and you can just pop it right up. Comes right off. So guys, before I install this bracket, I always make sure I check these little guys over here. Like, I'll see a little gap right there, and I don't like that. That's going to give me a problem when I go to put these back on. These little things that a lot of mechanics on YouTube don't show you. They just get the job done real fast and make it look easy. Majority of the times, it's not really easy, and you can get jammed up on something stupid real quick, like that. So, all I'm going to do is get my screwdriver and my little straight head here and push that in and make sure it's all the way in, and that's all. Okay, so now I'm putting the caliper bracket back on. I'm putting the bolts back in the same exact spot that I took them out in. And of course, I went right on. I didn't have to fight the rotor or anything, because remember, I got that bad boy sitting flush over there, so it ain't going to torment me. Okay, and that trick to get the bolts out, like I said, if you only have like a little 3/8 ratchet laying around, you don't got any other tools, you don't got a breaker bar, 1/2 inch long ratchet, whatever, I put the pipe back on, and I also tighten it too with the pipe. The last thing you need is these bolts to come out while you're doing 80 on the highway. Now, you don't got to go crazy and put all your force and might into it, but you know, make sure it's tight. I'm sure there's a torque specification somewhere for these bolts, but I can tell you, in all the shops I've ever worked in, no mechanic has ever torqued any caliper bolts or bracket bolts. Alright, and if you took the caliper off the way that I showed you, you don't want to put the caliper back on just yet. This is a pin that you want to pull out, and we're going to grease that up real fast. Even though this one looks good, still going to grease it up and put it back. And this is the grease that I use. Alright, we're all greased up. We're just going to pop that back in, make sure that boot's over and all the way on. Yep, and we're good to go there. And then also make sure you grease the pin that you pulled out with the bolt on. Alright, so now I'm going to go and put the caliper back on. Make sure that the hose is not twisted, bended, flipped in any way like that. Then you're going to get a pull when you stop, and everything's going to be all messed up. You want to make sure that that line is straight, and just slide it back on. See, I'm up. I slid it back in. I'm double checking my line. I'm good. Now all you gotta do is put that bottom bolt back in. Now, of course, before you put the bottom bolt back in, you want to put the pads in, but just showing you how to get that caliper back on real nice and easy. I can put the pads on with it flipped up like this. Alright, here's my new pad. Now the only part on here that I'm going to grease is right here. Here, and right on the other side. I know a lot of mechanics, they put grease on the back or whatever. I don't do that. I only do it on the parts that's actually sliding back and forth. I don't really see the point for the back. I'm sure someone will tell me otherwise, but that's how I've been doing it for the past 10 years. Never had a problem. Alright, here we go. We got one pad already on. Just make sure you push that all the way up against the rotor. Otherwise, your caliper will not slide over the pad. Alright, got both the pads in. Let's slide down. You might have to jiggle that forward a little bit so it goes over the pad. And then slide it down. Now, you're going to be like, why isn't it going all the way down? You have to push this pin in. Remember this bottom pin I was telling you about? Push that in. Make sure it lines up with the hole. And then you can start putting your bolt in. Alright, so now we're all tight. Every now and then you'll be doing a brake job, and sometimes the inside turns on you, and that's fine. You can just stick a little screwdriver in there, jam it up, and then tighten it that way, or get some channel locks in there. Either way, it didn't happen to me this time, but I'll make sure that's tight. Even though I didn't remove the top bolt, I'm going to make sure that's tight too, because you never know. That's tight. And then you'll want to repeat the process on the other side. Obviously, make sure you just do lefty loosey, righty tighty. You're not going to be loosening it the same way you're going to be doing it on this side. It's going to be the opposite. This is just for the front. We're going to do the rears on this truck. This has the electric parking brake. I haven't done them before, and honestly, I'm probably going to look up on YouTube how to do the rear calipers. I believe there's some type of sequence or something you got to do inside the truck so it'll allow you to press the caliper in. I also think you need the tool, which I have, so again, you just want to repeat this on the other side in the front if you're doing the front. And then I'm going to make a video on how to do the back. I also wanted to mention to make sure you pump the brakes after you're done doing the front. I'll always do the front, pump the brakes. I'll actually even start the truck and pump them with it off, turn it off, go to the back. After I'm done doing the back, we'll pump the brakes. You don't want to do all the brakes. You don't want to just start it. You don't want to put it in reverse drive and go without pumping the brakes. You're going to have a bad time. Trust me. And also, so I don't forget to mention this, there's also a break-in procedure for these particular pads. It has it on the box of what to do. Now, I know sometimes where you live, it might be pretty difficult to get the truck on a road where you can do this without people behind you, in front of you, in traffic. Just do the best that you can. This is my best advice, or maybe wait till the middle of the night. So there was one thing that I forgot to mention that I actually just remembered about when I was doing the other side of the front. Banging them rotors off. A lot of rust came out. A lot of rust. So, you know, just making sure that none of that is stuck up here. And then I noticed up in this little area there was some rust, so I cleaned that all out. I did that on both sides, because what I don't want happening is I don't want rust getting anywhere on the rotor or behind the rotor like it did when I put this one on. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Alright guys, just got done doing the front pads and rotors. We're all done. Just coming in here and pumping the brakes. Truck off. Pumping it until it gets hard. There you go. I don't care what anyone says. I'll fire it up. Pump them up again. Do it like 4 or 5 times. Pumped up. Then I turn it off. And I'll pump it up again. There we go. And that makes me happy. And then I'll do that same exact procedure when I'm done doing the rears. Alright guys, we're going to move on to the rear pads and rotors. Again, this is going to be my first time working on rear calipers with the electric parking brake. I'm going to get as far as I can, and then I'm going to look up the procedure for putting the piston back into the caliper. So let's get started. I'm going to put my jack underneath the rear differential so I can get both wheels up at the same time, and then I'm going to put a jack stand on each side of the rear diff. Alright, here we go. Jacked up the rear diff, put a jack stand on each side. Didn't really notice that this rear diff cover was leaking, but maybe I'll call a dealer and have them do it since it's still under warranty, but we'll see. Anyway, going to get to changing the rear pads and rotors. And same size lug nuts for the rear as in the front, 21mm. Alright, here's the rear rotor and pads on the 2020 Ford F-150 King Ranch. I'm sure this applies for any model with the rear electric parking brake. And there's the module on there. I'm just going to go ahead and take the caliper off, rotor and pads, and then I'm going to look up the procedure for putting that in the correct way. I'm sure if you do it the wrong way and break that, it's going to be very expensive. So let's get started. Alright, so on this one, I'm going to take both the bolts out. Just remove the whole caliper. Now, it looks like this is spinning on me now, which is fine. Just get my channel locks, and I'll hold that right there, and then it should come loose. Alright, and here's the example of what I'm talking about. Just want to get the channel locks right up on there. Hold them tight, and then you can break that bolt free. Now, if for some reason the channel locks don't work, you probably get some good vice grips I don't know, maybe a little wrench will fit in there, maybe an adjustable wrench, but just some tips. Alright guys, I'm going to remove this caliper carefully. I'm just going to pry up over here. Alright, now that I got that pried up over here, I'm going to go down to the bottom part. And I'm going to pry up, and then that should break it free. And then I'm just going to take it, and I'm going to put it in a safe spot. Alright, for now I'm just going to leave it right on the leaf spring there in a pretty stable spot where it's not moving, and I'll get to that last. And then I'm just going to pop the pads out, screwdriver. There we go. Alright, so to remove this caliper bracket, it looks like you're going to need a 24mm. And I got one of them for my 1/2-inch ratchet over here. And more than likely this probably won't break free, but that's okay. I got my handy dandy pipe. Alright, I got my pipe over my ratchet over here underneath the truck. Get some leverage on here. I'm going to pull it down. Had to use both of my arms for that one. That one's pretty tight, but still came free. And I'm going to repeat it, the same process for the top bolt. Now, just an FYI guys, I'm looking at this and I probably didn't even need to remove this caliper bracket. It looks like the rotor will probably just come on, but of course this one's probably frozen on here too, so I'm probably just going to take the bracket off anyway, just to give it a couple whacks from behind, just in case it doesn't want to come off at all if I hit it from the front. So let's see how hard this one is to get off. Okay, so I wouldn't really recommend taking that caliper bracket off. I was able to whack that rotor off from the front. A couple pretty good whacks, it came flying off, so I'm just going to proceed to clean this hub off with my wire brush and some brake clean. And then I'm going to take a look at the procedure to put that caliper piston back in. Alright, clean this up as good as you can. It doesn't gotta be perfect. And remember to clean any rust around the hub. I hit this with some brake clean as well. Hit it with the wire brush again. Alright guys, I just looked up the procedure online. Let's see if it works. First it says to throw the truck in accessory mode. I got the push button over here, so I'm going to assume it's the same as if you have a key. So I'm going to press the gas pedal all the way down, and then I'm going to push this in, and then I'm going to turn the ignition off. And within 5 seconds I'm going to turn it back on. I'm still holding it. Alright, that worked. Park brake, maintenance mode. So I'm just going to leave the truck in accessory mode with the park brake maintenance. I ain't going to mess with anything else, and let's get back to doing the brake job. Alright guys, you don't run into the same issue that I'm running into. Normally, just get a C-clamp. If I got the caliper already off, and I would just, put the old pad in there and press in the caliper. Well, I do not want to use the plastic housing at the back of this caliper and start twisting on that, because that will definitely break. So now I'm going to see if I can figure it out doing this another way without having to go run to the tool store. So let's see. Alright guys, so for once I've actually gotten lucky and didn't have to run to the store. I've had this kit for over 10 years now. I was under the assumption that it would only work for the twist-in style piston calipers, but I actually have an adapter over here that just pushes it straight in. So I'm sure they probably still sell this kit over at Harbor Freight. Don't need nothing crazy if you're not wrenching every day. And I will show you how I set this up. Okay, so here we go. I got this little piece over here that mimics a brake pad. I'm going to slide it up over here like that. And that's the first step. Then I have my little adapter over here from the kit. And then I'm just going to put it right over like so. Now, when I get it in there, see, it's loose. It's loose, and if I go to turn it in, it ain't gonna do nothing. I have to back this off. I'm gonna back this nut off over here so it gets tight up against the caliper. Now I'm tight. Now I could turn this and that caliper goes in nice and easy. Now as you're doing that and you get further, you may have to back this out again. So here we go. Alright, that's it. Don't go too tight. You don't want to damage anything. And now I was able to do all this with my hands. Probably gonna need the channel locks to get that loose. No big deal. Get the channel locks, loosen this up without causing a catastrophe over here. Alright, so all I did was spin this backwards, loosen this up a little bit. Oh, frontwards. My apologies. And there you go. Compressed all the way in. And I still have the truck in accessory mode with it in park brake maintenance mode. And remember to clean your rotors off before installation. And again, if you're doing drilled and slided like me, make sure you got the correct rotor on the correct hub. And I'll do the same thing here. I'll spin the lug nut on so this rotor doesn't wobble back and forth while I'm installing the caliper and bracket. Even though, again, I don't believe the bracket even needs to come off while you're doing this. And these rear pads came with caliper bracket hardware kit as well, so I'm going to go ahead and replace that since I have new ones. Why not? I'm going to take one off at a time. And taking these clips off is fairly easy as well. Just get a screwdriver, pry the old one off. And all I did here was just press these all in my hands. And just making sure that there's no gap in the back. Want to make sure they're all the way on. I don't want brake pads to be fighting me while I'm trying to slide them on. And we're going to make sure to grease both our slider pins. Pop them both out. Even though they look pretty good, we're going to grease them up, put them back in. Alright, I'm all greased up. Just going to push that all the way in. Make sure the boot goes over. Good there. I already did this one. And I'm just putting my caliper bracket back on. Again, it's 24 millimeter. And again, just because I'm paranoid, I'm going to tighten these bolts with my pipe and get some more leverage and make sure they're really, really tight. And I'm not going to crank on them too hard, but you do get a good amount of movement when you just put the pipe over the ratchet and push it up to tighten it. And I won't go no more than that. Alright, got my bracket back on. Now I'm just going to grease these pads just right up in this slot right here, and right there, just like that on both sides. Now I'm going to pop the pad back in. Now with this particular bracket, you're going to have to push up a little bit as you're installing it, and make sure you're in the slot, and do that on the other side too, and you're good to go. Alright, I got both my pads in. Just going to throw that caliper back on. Again, make sure your hose is perfectly straight, not twist or bent in any way as you're putting the caliper back on. And remember, you might just have to give this little pin a little push in order to get the caliper to slide over there so you can get the bolt in. Alright guys, and you'll probably have the same issue you had getting these out where the whole thing's going to spin on you. You want to just get your channel locks, vice grips, wrench, whatever will fit in there, and hold that as you're tightening them up. Again, this is my setup. One hand holding the channel locks and one hand holding the ratchet, and just tighten that 13mm bolt up. Alright guys, and that's it. Not too bad. Remember to take my lug nut off over here. If I was going to do this again, I'd probably have both the wheels off and compress the calipers in at the same time in that maintenance mode, only because I just don't like leaving it in accessory mode too long. I don't want my battery to die, but if it does, I have a charger. It's no big deal. Yep, and that's it. And just a reminder, if you're doing drilled and slotted, that they do have a break-in procedure. And this is the procedure. Again, I know it's probably pretty difficult to do it during the day or in a high traffic area. Probably recommend trying to do this in the middle of the night, or if you live somewhere that's not too busy, it's probably pretty easy to do. But hope I was able to help you guys. Alright guys, and it looks like the truck stays in park brake maintenance mode even when accessory mode is off, so just another tip. I did not know that. The truck's accessory mode just went off by itself, and I opened the door and it says it's still in there, and I looked it up and there's a procedure to actually get out of that, so just an FYI. Alright guys, so I'm all done doing my rear brake pads and rotors. Now we have to get this out of maintenance mode. I'm reading it's the same procedure, except for pushing the switch in, you got to pull it out. So let's give it a try. Put this in accessory mode. So make sure, yep, we're still in maintenance mode. I'm going to pull that out. And I'm going to push the gas pedal all the way down. And then I'm going to press the accessory button, ignition button, and then I'm going to press it again. I'm holding the gas pedal all the way down. I'm still holding that switch up. I believe I am out of maintenance mode. I don't see the maintenance mode light anymore. So I just released the gas pedal and the parking brake switch. I'm just going to, better safe than sorry, I'm going to turn it off, turn it back on again and make sure it doesn't say maintenance mode. Alright, looks like we're good to go. And again, I'm going to pump up my brakes now with the truck off. I'm pumped up. I'm going to fire the truck up. Pump them brakes again. I'll turn the truck off. Pump them again. And that's it.